Alrighty, recording is started. Welcome to another episode of Post Hunt Clarity. This is, and I forget every time, I think 15 or 16.
What up,
So,
gang members?
gang members, yo, 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 from the north side of Wisco.
Yes,
Where you at right
sir.
now? Are you driving from Kentucky to Wisconsin right now to come hunt? Are you in like around Madison area yet?
Yeah, it's funny you asked that. I just saw the first. I'm 4 miles from Madison,
Oh, that's
so
fun.
I am cruising. Like I didn't think I'd beat Eau Claire until midnight, 12:30, and my ETA is 11:10. I'm gonna, barring anything unforeseen, I'm gonna make it all the way from Cincy in one stop.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I drove like 5 hours and 15 minutes before I stopped.
It
So
must just be pissing into a bottle in the seat of your
no,
car or what?
I never pissed. I literally, it's like 620 miles, I think, on the dot, and I think I
Mm.
had it down to like 270 before I pissed, and
So
stopped and pissed and got
what
gas. And
what's the total drive time? Because I say the drive I just had, I think it was just, and I ended up stopping like three times because I had to fill up a bunch, but it was like 11 hours or something.
yeah, if you hit traffic right, which I did this time, you can do it in like 9 hours and 5 to 10 minutes.
Oh, there you go. Did you go through Chirac?
Kind of the south side, and then went over to Rockford.
Yeah. Okay. So you just bypassed it.
So
No Venezuelan gangs sitting there eating cats and dogs.
no, but that whole state is a shit show. I got
Yes.
stuck, so I just wanted to hump it as far as I could, and I got to Chicago, and I was like, all right, I'll get gas like up by Rockford. Well, I
Mm.
had like, I don't know, maybe 80 miles till empty, and it's
Yep.
probably like 60 to Rockford ish, give or take. Well, anyways, I was literally bucking like a 25 mile an hour headwind. So my miles per gallon started dropping, and my range started updating on my truck. And I got to where I had like 30 miles left, and I still wasn't till Rockford, till empty. And there's like no
Yep.
gas stations on that stretch, like none. And $3.55 for the cheap stuff. I'm like, yeah, screw
Sure.
that. I'm not doing that. So I got up to like just outside of Rockford. I had like 20 miles left, and there was a Shell, and it was like $3.39 a gallon. But I was like, I have to fill up. So
Yeah.
screw
Well, gas
Illinois. I
should be
hate that
around
state.
288 or something in Eau Claire. Yeah, I was paying like 330 a gallon in North Dakota, but I was also only getting like 11.2 miles to the gallon out there. I don't know why it is when you travel out west, higher elevation, more wind, a combination of both of those. But I always get shitty gas mileage. Can't beat it. So,
Your truck is terrible gas mileage for a six cylinder.
well, yeah, that's why, because it's a six-cylinder truck. That's a full-size
No, a
truck, so
six.
it's
Yeah, it should get better gas mileage still though.
yeah. I mean, I average 14 and a half to 15, but
Yeah, I have I mean, my truck's a full size V8, and I have the tow package. So it's built for, you get better gas mileage when you're towing, but you don't get as good when you're driving. And I get like
sure.
18.
Yeah, no, if I had a V8, I bet I'd get better gas mileage, to be honest, just because it's like I have oversized tires and rims on that truck. Plus, when I go on the trip, you add any extra weight to it, it's just the engine's too small, in my opinion, for that truck. So, but
Maybe.
that's I
Yeah,
guess
it
it
could
was one
be,
of
I
the first
guess.
couple of years they had it's a 2014. I mean, the truck's a decade old, and I got the 3.5 liter with twin turbos. Like, yeah, it's got power and torque, but I'm just like driving with nothing in it, not hauling anything, and it gets up and goes quick. But as far as gas mileage, if you're going, if I'm going 55, I can get like 18 miles to the gallon. As soon as I'm going 75, like, nope.
Yeah, your tires, I don't think help either.
No, but I like big tires and big rims for what I do. So it's miles per
Yeah.
gallon, not miles per gallon. That's how I think about it.
Yeah. Well, we should probably talk hunting. I think our theme for this podcast is living and learning.
Yeah,
So,
that's a good one.
where do you want to go with that?
Well, we post on clarity, so let's recap. Today is Halloween, by the way, so to all you fucking weirdos that are trick or treating or whatever you were doing,
Happy
happy Halloween.
Halloween!
Um,
Um,
but yeah, I was just in North
you just got
Dakota.
back from North Dakota, so tell us about that a little bit.
Went on a solo trip. Not my first solo trip, but the first one I ever made was last year. And I met a buddy out there, but we didn't hunt together. We didn't really, so it was still technically a solo trip, but I was only out there for 4 or 5 days. This trip I was out there from Saturday to the following Sunday. So a full 8 or 9 days, whatever that adds up to. Um, by myself, 12 hours away or 11 hours away, and it was interesting. And I've been waiting for years, multiple years, 3 or 4, for this mule deer tag, and I finally drew it. We already had a podcast on my first trip out there in September with my dad, was on good deer. I got like sick to the point where I didn't feel like I could even freaking move. So we came home early. When I came home early, I'm like, well, I'm not burning the tag, so I'm going back out. So I planned this week in October, thinking, okay, like October 19th through the 27th, like should be good dates. Like maybe they're, gonna be in some different patterns. Hopefully the leaves are gone. Hoping it's colder, cooler. Thinking that the deer would be moving all day because 2 years ago, 2022, I went on a North Dakota mule deer hunt with my buddy Joey. I was filming. He had the tag. Granted, we went to a different part of the state. We were like 2.5 hours southwest, I think, of where I was just hunting. So more in the Badlands on a bunch of public. And I mean, it was cold and we had snow and there was deer moving all hours of the day out there. It was awesome. Saw lots of deer. In this trip, just a short recap, like I saw lots of deer, but it wasn't, I mean, I was not seeing all day movement. It was basically like early season yet. The weather was cooler. Like I had mornings in the 20s and it got up to 70 something the first 2 days and then averaged out to be like mid 50s to like maybe 60 degrees. So the weather was ideal. But it just seems the deer on this trip, like if they were up and moving right away, I only had a couple days where the deer would maybe move for the first 2 hours of daylight, and you'd slowly see them start going back to their bedding areas. But a lot of the time, these deer, like right at the first light, you'd see them moving off the fields and straight to the bedding areas. And then they would not move around. They would lay in the same bed, the same area all day until dark, and then get up and go. But for the most part, I
Well,
mean, I started off I had that private piece that I had wrote that letter for early season and got permission to
yep.
go hunt out on some lady's farm, and I got to meet her son. Got to know the landowner's son very, very well, which is a good networking thing, and he's just a good guy overall. But I went out there and I found deer right away the first night. Saturday night, I found deer and I spent some time driving around locating different groups of bucks. And I'm like, okay, these bucks are still all bachelored up. Like, I didn't see a single solo buck. It was like herds of, 4 bucks here, 3 bucks there. There was two bigger bucks together. Just kind of, I felt like they stayed with their age class for the most part. And then, the dinks would join in, to one herd one way or the other. But found deer, boom. Sunday's go time. So Sunday morning, I watch a bunch of deer go up a hill, look on Onyx, and I'm like, well, there's only one spot they could be bedding, so let's loop all the way around. And that's what I did. Like a mile and a half walk or whatever. Came up this hill and I see a buck laying there at like 200 yards on the top of this hill in the grass. I'm like, okay, hit the dirt, watch him. The sun started popping out some more. He dove down into a cut where there was a couple trees, looked on Onyx. I'm like, perfect, let's get as close as I can. So it took me a little bit to belly crawl and cut the distance, and I got to a fence line, cattle fence, and I threw up the binocs and I could see the antlers. There was multiple bucks, big bucks in this patch of sage or whatever type of trees they were. It's just small, short, brushy trees, like 10 feet tall, super brushy. You can't shoot into it. Um, Range in the trees and they're at like 85 yards. I'm like, okay. So I sat there for an hour and I started thinking about it. I'm like, if these deer were to stand up, I'm not in a position to make a shot on them. So I'm gonna crawl down the fence line. in the direction it would be north that I know they're going to when they get up out of their beds at some point today. If they go to the fields, they have to go north. So I'm not really gaining distance, but what I'm doing is dropping in elevation a little bit, trying to get ahead of them. So ideally, they come out of their beds and I can get a parallel broadside shot later. And that was an all-day commitment. Like I would every 10 minutes poke up from this pile. It was actually a juniper bush, and look, and I'm like, okay, there's the deer. Another hour would go by, I'd get up, or I'd get on my knees and I'd glass them, and all of a sudden these deer would be up, and I'm like, okay, are they gonna move? And I'd watch these 3 bucks just kind of like, stand up for a few minutes, like stretch their legs, move maybe 5 feet, and then lay back down. And they did that all day. I mean, I started sitting there at 9:30 a.m. Shooting light in the evening was like 7:20, and it wasn't until like 6:55 where boom, all of a sudden, like, I think these bucks are ready to go. I had another fork buck or smaller buck get up from a bed below me that I didn't know was there. Could have shot him. He came into like 55 yards across the cut. Then these bucks, they're up and they're on the other side of the hill. So they're now not 80 yards away. They're about 100 some yards away. I'm like, it's only a matter of time before they come down the draw, thinking they're going to stay low, in the cut so they can smell. They're kind of hidden. Not the case. The one big 3x3 gets up on top of the other hill, and I'm like, shit, like, he's broadside. I'm sitting there ranging, and the consistent range I got, same, literally like same as last time I was out there, 104 yards, 103 yards, 104 yards, and then just, no closer. And I wasn't in a position. There's no way I could have got any closer. There's just not enough terrain to work with, so I was just kind of stuck. Then a bigger 4x4 comes out behind him, and he's at like 90 yards, and I'm like, I'm not launching at 90 yards, like, not going to happen. Well, from behind me, across the desert plains, come hightailing in 3 white-tailed does, and I'm like, you gotta be shitting me. My wind is blowing right where they're gonna get to. Well, these damn things get to 40 yards in front of me. Like, would have been perfect if it was a mule deer buck, and they start smelling me, and this doe starts blowing. I look across the hill, and those 2 bucks are, looking at the doe. They can't smell me, but they're staring at this doe throwing a hissy fit. But it was one of those where instead of just blowing and spooking off, like, she would blow and then put her head down and start eating grass again, and then all of a sudden, like, lift her head up and start blowing, looking in my direction. And it ended up, the story, just kind of to keep that part short, was that it got dark, the doe kept blowing, and at that point I couldn't shoot, so I just got up and left, and probably booted those deer. And the rest of the week for me was like, that group of deer stayed together, and for the most part, my entire time up there, that was their bedroom. Like, they didn't really change it. The next day, what I should have done is I should have raced there in the dark and waited for them, but I didn't. And it was kind of the same ordeal where they went to the same spot. However, the wind was different, so I didn't even get a chance to go back there. Oh no, actually I did. I knew they were back there. I watched them go back there, and the wind was in my favor, and I just went straight for it. And I'm like, yesterday I was patient. Today I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna pop over the edge, draw back, and let one fly. Well, I got over to the edge and was trying to look in the spot they were bedded yesterday. Well, guess what? Turns out they were only bedded about 50 yards away from me, and I never even saw them. And like a herd of 7 different bucks got up, ran over the till, paralleling the Native American reservation out there, and just gone. I'm like, oh, well, that's good. All the bucks I found are gone. So there was a little bit to this trip of, like, as I would boot or spook deer, like, the chance of you getting back on them the same day are pretty slim. So now you're like, well, it's 10 a.m. now. There's deer not moving. So what are the odds I'm going to go find another deer? And it was just hard. Half the time I didn't. So I just go back, take a nap, spend some time on Onyx thinking, where could I scout? And the majority of the trip, like, I was on deer. I was finding deer, whether it was before dark, in the morning, and I had a couple long drawn out stalks where I'd find deer in the morning, glass them, wait for them to bed down, and then, take the hour, 2 hours, 3 hours to make like a very, what I thought was a well educated stalk, a well planned out strategic move on these deer. And maybe it's just a lack of aggressiveness on my end, or I was blaming the terrain, and just there's all features are against you out there. Like these deer bed at the highest spot where the wind is at their back and they can see everything down below them. And most of the time, like
Yep.
where I was at, I couldn't access from the backside because they were always bedding on the property boundary. Like if it's public, like a big public chunk and they're in the middle of it, you can work around that. But with my situation, like I'm not trespassing on the Native American reservation, like no chance. So I'm like,
Yeah, no. Yeah,
I gotta
that wouldn't
go.
be real smart.
So I gotta go in at these deer where they're looking my direction, and I'm trying to pick routes where like I can use some terrain, whether that's just elevation, some sage piles, just to like keep closing distance. And the story of the trip is like I could close the distance to where like they're, you know, a chance I might be able to get to them. But again, it's like between 120 to 90 some yards is the closest I could get. And I seriously think like these animals are super smart and they set themselves up in a situation like that where they're like, instead of me bedding down in an area where something could sneak up within 10 yards, 20 yards, I'm going to bed so I can see it while it's at least, 60, 70 yards away. So good on them for having brain cells. That's why they're big. But it
Yeah.
was just hard, but it was a learning curve. And the other thing I kind of struggled with, which Ben will, he was there, like I texted him, I said they're messaging him trying to bounce ideas like this is my situation, here's an onyx screenshot, like here's the wind, this is where they're facing, like what are my options. And I talked to Ben, I talked to some coworkers, and for the most part it was kind of like, you know giving me feedback that it was already going through my head, but it's like it sounds easy, but I'm like, if you're there it's so hard, like because the
Yeah.
other thing going through my head is that I have a week to hunt. Yes, I need to be aggressive, but if I keep repetitively spooking and kicking these deer out of the bedroom, one day they're just not going to come back. So I was also battling that. And it got to a
Yeah.
point I had ended up booting this bachelor group of bucks probably 3 or 4 times, and they did leave for 2 days. They went and bedded. They like lived on the reservation for 2 days, and I couldn't hunt them. So then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go hunt public. And ironically, like it was like 5:30 the one night, and I was glassing, and all of a sudden, boom, I see a deer. I'm like, screw it, I'm gonna just hightail it out there and go see. I never identified what the deer was. I just saw it was a mule deer. I get up to a hill, pop over the hill. Sure as shit, there's a big buck bedded, and he's at 200 yards. I'm like, okay. I was here last time with my dad. This spot has a lot more terrain for me to work around. It's a great place to stalk, in my opinion. And I do it. He gets up. Um, at like 5:45 and goes and beds higher up, but on the edge of a sage patch where I'm like, oh, well, if he stands, I could get a shot. I just don't know how close I can get. Well, I got to a spot where it was the last sage bush between him and I. At that point, it's just grass that's a foot tall. That there's no way you're crawling through. He's gonna see you. And range him 104 fucking yards. So I sat there and just waited because I'm like, I mean, it's gonna get dark, and then right before dark, thinking maybe a half hour, 20 minutes before dark, 45 minutes before dark, he'll get out of his bed and start feeding. Well, it's 20 minutes before dark, he's still laying there. 10 minutes before legal shooting light, he's still sitting there. 5 minutes, like it's getting dark, finally he gets up. But instead of coming the direction I thought he would towards me, he started going to the same place he got up from before. So he got behind a big patch of sage, and I'm like, screw it, I got seconds left. So I like at this point I'm standing and I'm walking like pretty fast, making noise. But I hear this buck raking on a sage patch. So like he can't see me, I can't see him. He might be able to hear me, but at that point, like he doesn't care. So I get to a spot where I'm like, he's gonna pop out and he's gonna be shootable. All of a sudden, and I have the video of this. I just posted it tonight on TikTok, and this deer comes out, and I bring up my rangefinder, and it's dark in the rangefinder. I see his body, see his rack, range him, and he's 60. He keeps walking 60. I'm like, okay, that lets me know he's broadside because he's staying the same distance. Pins at 60. I rip it back, get it on his body. I can see through the peep, but I cannot see my pin. And I'm sitting there like, oh my gosh, like lift the pin above his back. I can kind of see the green outline. I stop him. I meep like 3 or 4 times. And he finally stops, and I'm sitting there like looking at him. I'm like, I think my pin is behind his shoulder. Like it feels right, but I cannot, like, for the life of me, I really can't see my pin. Just couldn't focus on it. It was too dark. So I let down, watched that deer spook off, and I'm like, I checked my phone, and yeah, it was like a minute or so after legal light. And I'm like, well, probably a good thing I didn't shoot, because one, I'm by myself. Like I don't want to take a risky shot, wound a deer, and then have to deal with that and track it all over the place. So I'm like, you know what? I got a spark in me though. It was the closest I got on the trip. And this is 5 days into it. The next morning, got on a different buck. Took forever to make a stalk, on that private ground. Ended up booting that bachelor group of bucks from the same spot. And I knew it because Ben, I was talking to you and I'm like, I got a lone buck bedded here in the group of bachelor bucks bedded here. The problem is if I try to stalk this buck bedded by himself, I'm knowingly gonna spook these other deer because there's no other way to get to this buck without them seeing me. So I'm debating with you, I'm debating with my coworker Jeremy, like, what do I do? It's either I don't stalk at all because I don't want to mess up these deer, or I say, screw these other deer and just throw all my eggs in this basket for this buck. Well, I'm like, I got 3 days left. You know what? Let's throw all the eggs in the basket. And yep, I got up to the hills, watched all those deer, like those bucks, and just freaking cool. The fact that I'm 250 away from them, and while I was standing and walking, they would just sit there and watch me. And I can see the racks with the naked eye. I throw up the binocs, and they're just big, staring at me. And maybe it's because they're used to like the farmers running cattle and stuff, so they just think, okay, it's a person. And then I was getting to the point where I'm like, I need to kneel down so I don't walk too far because I'm not exactly sure where I'm at in the terrain, where this buck is. So I need to check Onyx just to double check where I'm at. I kneel down and I look to the right. Those bucks saw me kneel and they lost it. Just freaking boop onto the reservation, all of them. So it was like, it was a green light for them while I was standing, but as soon as I kneeled down, they just automatically associated me as a predator. But
Yeah.
whatever. So those bucks scared off, and I'm committed to this one. And he's a big buck, by the way. This buck I'm stalking, I mean, he's a big 4x4. I wouldn't say giant, but he's a 150 class mule deer, like a really good buck by himself. I get up over the hill, find the patch of sage that I think this deer's in, wait for like 45 minutes. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to stand up and just slowly walk with my bow ready till I see antlers or he gets up. Well, I get closer and closer and closer. I'm like, this deer's got to be within 20 yards. So I kind of swing wider and I'm like, okay, I see a bed. Oh, there's another bed. So I'm like, whatever, I'm just going to walk and go check it out, thinking that this deer had winded me because the wind was marginal trying to make this stalk in the first place. Get up to the bed and I'm like, yeah, he was gone. And I look on the back side of the bed and I'm like, well, this tree was this tree here? Because I had taken a phone scope video through my bino. So I watched that video. I'm like, no, this tree wasn't in the background of this video. So I pull up Onyx and my dumbass, I was in the wrong patch of sage. I had already walked around and past this buck, which worked out great because the wind was out of the northwest and I'm now south of this deer. And I'm like, well, if he didn't smell me walking in and he's still there, like now I'm in the green light because the wind's in my face. So I start heading north and I'm looking on Onyx and it's like, okay, you're 80 yards from this other chunk of sage just up and over a hill. I crest the hill, I see the chunk of sage, so I start, not quite belly crawling, but I'm on my hands and knees and I crawl up and I start ranging the sage and it's like, okay, 40 yards to the front, 30 yards to the front, 40 yards to the back. And I hunker down because I'm like, okay, there's the trees from the video or the bushes from the video. This buck is in there. So I waited a little bit, maybe an hour, still never saw the buck. Waited another hour, still never saw the buck. And at this point, I'm getting impatient. So I start digging in the prairie grass for like fist-sized rocks. And I got 3 of them. Launched a rock over there, hit the pile of sage, nothing moved. Launched another rock, hit a different part of the sage, nothing moved. And at that point, I'm like, maybe he did win me and he's not even there. Which was the other reason I was throwing rocks, is I didn't want to sit there all day and burn my day, not knowing if that buck was still there.
Yeah.
And it was windy enough where like the deer would hear the rocks hit the ground, or the brush move from where they land, but I was like, I think it'll get them to stand. I don't think it'll spook them. So I launched the other rock at the very top part of the sage pile, and up flies like antlers just for a half second to kind of swing and look, and then the head drops back down. I'm like, no way, he's still there, and that deer is at like 35 yards. So from there, it was more patience. I'm like, I'm gonna wait him out. Like, I'll sit here till fucking dark, wait for this thing to stand up. So I give it another hour, and then my brain starts like thinking like more details that I wasn't thinking about earlier. So I'm like, well, shit, if he stands up and that sage is too tall, like I can't shoot him. And if he decides to go down the hill to feed where I'm assuming he's going to go, like I don't have a shot as he's walking down. So I'm like, I need him to get up and go, the opposite direction, or I need to get myself in a different position. So I scooted closer. I think I honestly was in with like 25 now, but I'm in the wide open, and I'm like, there's a chance if he stands up and I stand up that I'm still above him in elevation, that maybe my arrow would be able to go over top of the sage patch. So I'm like, let's just do it. Find another rock. I lobbed that fucking rock so high up in the air that I was able to hook up to my release, or hook my release up on the bow and get ready to rip back before the freaking rock even landed. That rock hit and that deer stands up broadside. And of course, I can just see the top of his spine. I can see his head. The rest of his body is completely covered by sage. And I'm like, shit, like no shot. He's facing down the hill. And ideally, for me to get the shot I need, is I need him to do a 180 and turn up the hill. What does he do? He turns a 180 and starts walking up the hill. I'm like, no fucking way. This is going to happen. He's going to pop out, be broadside at 30 or 35 yards. So my pin's at 30. I rip it back as he dives behind the last pile of sage, and I start looking through my peep, waiting for him to come out of that patch of sage up the hill. Well, through my peep, all of a sudden I look, and that buck, instead of just staying on a straight line going past the sage, he hooks a 90 straight at me. And all I see is this deer looking at me. I can see his head, I can see his chest and his front two legs. And he just like dead still freezes because I'm in the wide open drawn back. So I swung my pin, put it on my chest, and within 2 seconds, I punched the absolute shit out of the trigger like an idiot and watched that arrow just miss him to the left into the dirt. And I'm like, oh my God. He gets up and I watch him run, for a country mile starting, which is, how mule deer do that kind of like little giddy jump thing instead of running, starting away. And I'm like, God damn it. Like I just devoted fucking 5 or 6 hours to this stock. And the whole time, that was the worst thing about it, is the 4 or so hours I had just on the ground waiting. Like I'm talking to myself, even out loud. Like I'm playing through the scenario. He's going to be broadside. I'm going to draw, anchor, gently squeeze the trigger, and watch the arrow go, like hit him through the peep, follow through the shot. And I'm playing this through multiple times, multiple different scenarios. Not once did I ever think he was going to turn and face me and I was going to try and send it at his chest. And within seconds, that's what happened. And I think I just kind of like, in my brain, I rushed the shot. I rushed the entire scenario just because it happened so quick like that. And I just executed a very poor shot. Like I sent that freaking arrow right to the land. He was at, I didn't range him, but like between 20 and 30 yards, like it's right there in the money, and then I guess I kind of had my story a little mixed up. So the night before, I had missed a deer at 67, and just like it was just a desperation shot because the night prior is when I drew back and let down. The following evening is when I stalked a deer. The booner came out. The booner went, a different direction, and I sudden another buck came out, and I got within 67 right at dark. Pulled back. It was still a little bit hard to see my pin. Like a dumbass, I shot, and I ended up missing low, which is whatever. Glad I didn't wound the deer, but so that's already one drawback, no shot. Then a drawback and a miss, and then a third drawback and a miss. And at that point, like I started cussing out loud. I'm cussing God out in the sky like an idiot. I'm freaking sending Snapchats to Ben like I'm fucking done. I'm out of here. Like I just spent my whole day and I fucked this deer. I fucked the group of other deer that like every buck on this property is now gone because I failed at this stalk. So I'm like, I'm going home. I'm done with this trip. Like I lose. Freaking walk a mile or so back to the truck, get in, basically rage quit like I was in a COD lobby and just got owned. I rage quit this hunt. Drive back to the landowner's truck shop, load up all my shit, hop in my vehicle. I'm heading home. And it's now like 5 something at night. I ended up driving an hour and a half away. And then for some reason, like I think I just calmed down and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna call my fiance because she'll talk some sense into me and we'll just see how this goes. And she was talking to me and she's like, Gabe, I know you're mad. I know you're kind of homesick and you just don't want to be out there anymore. But you waited 4 years for this tag, and I promise you, if you come home and quit on yourself 2 days early, you're gonna be way more mad than if you stick it out. And I'm like, okay, okay. I think you're right. Let me call my dad. My dad will be, either telling me to quit it or, whatever. Call my dad. He told me the exact, like almost word for word. He's like, son, I know how much this means to you. He's like, I would rather you burn your tag knowing that you burned it because you ran out of time than you burned it because you quit on yourself. And I'm like, all right, I'm sticking out there. And it like revived me. So I drive an hour and a
Yeah.
half back. Mind you, I just like my truck was at half a tank before I left, filled it up. By the time I got back to camp, it was at the same spot it was at when I left. So I wasted that entire, all the gas I put in there. But regardless, I'm like, all right, I'm on fire. I got 2 more days left. I'm gonna stick this out. Well, I stuck it out, but those 2 days were the worst 2 days of the trip. Like I never got on any deer for the most part. Didn't have a chance. Like all these deer, they'd see my truck from 1,000 yards away. I was ranging them with my binoculars, and they'd look at my truck and they'd just start running. I'm like, okay, well, I've pressured these deer to the point that I think I'm fucked, which ultimately I was. But in hindsight, my post hunt clarity for this is I'm glad I stuck it out. One, that was a good mental reset for me. Like there's just mental battles when people go on hunts that nobody really talks about. They only talk about the good stuff, right? The successful hunt, the fun times. Like, and I said on the way, like out there making phone calls, like this trip is gonna either make me or break me. And it definitely broke me. But I'm still glad I went. Like it was an experience. Like fuck, dude, I was out there by myself. Like I went days without showering. I was just like disgusting, like busting my ass after these deer. And I can't say, I didn't have a chance. I fired 2 arrows. I missed them both. But you know what? At least I let an arrow fly. That
Well,
was
and
more for me because it's like, Wayne Gretzky, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So you know what? I took some shots.
and to me, big picture, that's what hunting is like. I don't like. It's hard. It's hunting. It's called hunting and not killing for a reason. You know what I mean? And hunting to
Yeah.
me is as much about the grind of it. I get as much joy from going out and grinding, and it's the middle of November, end of November, and your alarm goes off and all you freaking want to do is curl up into a ball and get some sleep. But it's like,
Yeah.
no, I need to go out and grind another day and try to get the best of one of these bucks. And um, to me, that's as much of the experience as killing something ever is going to be. The killing something is the reward, but the experience is the grind that goes into it. And I think, as dumb as this might sound, like when you hunt at the level that we do, that's what it's about. I'm a little bit of a quote unquote weekend warrior now, but like
Hmm.
I mean, I still eat, breathe, and sleep hunting. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's just that's what it's about. And we're not guys that go out and sit 4 or 5 times a year during the rut because it gets them away from their wives, and you know
No,
that's
this
not
is this is
us.
a 4 or 5 month a year thing where it's like literally half your year, half your life is devoted to what it doesn't matter what breed of deer, what species of deer, but it's devoted to hunting and trying to, kill one of these animals.
Yeah, and that's the other. It's frustrating, and you missed a couple opportunities, but I've told myself all year, all it takes is one. That's all it
Yeah.
takes.
That's 100%. I think that's kind of what kept me going. And it's funny because I was telling coworkers some of the story. I was like, yeah, I took a shot at 67. They're like, holy cow, 67, that's a crazy poke. Couldn't you did you try to get within like 30? I'm like, I know you're a whitetail hunter, but like 30 on that one deer was like a very like that's a one-time thing out there. Like unless you're hunting for 3 weeks straight. I think if I was out there
Yeah,
3 weeks straight, I'd still only have two or three chances where I'm within 30 of one of those deer. The terrain, literally the
yeah,
terrain just did not allow it unless you were set up to like ambush one of these deer and you like had watched them for a couple days and you're like, okay, I think I got them patterned. Hopefully they walk by that spot tonight. That's the only way you're getting within 30. Like,
right.
and I
Yeah,
knew going out there. I mean, we had this after the last time. I had those two big bucks early season at 71, and I didn't want to take the shot, partially because, I had bow problems and wasn't confident. Well, shooting out, after I got back from that trip, like I practiced 70, 80 all the time. I got to the point where I'm like, dude, super confident. When I got there, I found a hay bale. I shot at 60, money. I shot at 70, money, and I'm like, I'm fucking doing this. Like super excited. Like I felt like I was dialed in. I still think I was. The shot I missed at 67 was just poor execution, probably a touch unethical on my end. I know it was dark. It was still legal light, and it was just hard to see the pin. And I watched the video. I had my phone on my bow, and I think with the shot, I actually dropped my bow as I was squeezing the trigger just a little bit. I think I was probably trying to look for the arrow because it was hard to see. Trying to look at impact, and I just I missed it low, which is probably a good thing because that buck was very big. I mean, he was like a scrub 100-inch mule deer, but I didn't care. I'm like, I'm killing something. But the second day,
yeah.
it's just that second miss threw me, because I'm like, it's 30 yards. Like to some people in the whitetail woods, like, yeah, 30 yards is a poke. Out there, dude, I'm like, that's the fucking closest you could shoot. Like that should be a chip shot. And it should have
Yeah.
been. Granted, it was a frontal shot, probably still on the verge of being a touch bar for that. But I know as soon as I did it, that arrow didn't even hit the dirt yet, and I knew I was gonna miss. Just because like
Right.
instead of squeezing like I practice nonstop where it's like target panic, right? You just gently squeeze, follow through, like just freaking like I was shooting a shotgun, dude. Just blew the shit out of the trigger. And I'm like, why on earth? And it probably only took 30 seconds for that deer to clear a couple hundred yards, but it felt like I was watching it for an hour, just in slow motion,
Yeah.
running down the hill. And the only thing I can think about is why on earth did I do that? I still have no reason. I don't have an answer. I was talking to my dad, and he was like, do you think your Tourette's play a role in like why you make rash decisions? And like to be honest, I don't know, because I've never lived without it, and I don't want to use it as a crutch, and I don't ever want to use it as like, I'm blaming it on my Tourette's, but I'm like, I don't know, dude. Like, I think my brain just like it blacked out. Like that deer, as soon as I saw on my peep sight that he was not broadside, he was facing me. Like for those 4 or 5 seconds that it took, like just completely not a thought in my head other than pin on deer, pull trigger, and that's what happened. And it's just not how things should
Well,
be
and
executed. But
I don't have Tourette's, so I guess I don't want to speak for you, but like I wouldn't go down that road. Like I've had multiple situations in my life where it's like, why the hell did I do that? You know
yeah,
what I
I think
mean?
it's just
Like
it's just a human error that
when it
anybody
comes to
anybody
shooting,
would
and
make.
so I think if you go down that road, you're gonna be like, I can't kill deer because of my Tourette's, and then that's all that's gonna be in your head, and it's gonna
And
be
I
more
and I
mental.
and
And
I
I
know
think
it's
it's I
completely
think it's
not
just
true
natural.
because
I think it's just natural human flaw, honestly. I mean, it's just you see a deer that you want to kill and you get excited, and you know, for no matter how many times you've been in that situation, you have to be freaking disciplined. You know,
yeah, and that's
and
what it was. And there's just a lack of discipline. I mean, I
it's
sat there
hard for the
five
best of
hours
people.
5 hours preaching discipline. Literally, like I just said, I was preaching to myself, like follow through, squeeze the trigger, make sure your anchor point's right, make sure you pivot at the waist, all that stuff. And, the drawback in the anchor, I think, was absolutely fine. It was just like, the other thing I don't remember even checking my sight bubble to see if it was level. Like, so yeah, I for sure know that I must have just got adrenaline pumping and just rushed that shot. But,
Yeah.
you know, It's a little different. I feel like most of my shots in the whitetail woods, I've had a lot of, like, I wouldn't say a lot of time to prep, but a lot more time than what I dealt with after that deer got up and I knew it was a now or never situation. Like at least in the tree stand,
Yeah,
like, beforehand, like, like if a deer's coming by, I get this shot, this shot, this shot. While I was out there, I'm like, okay, I get this shot and that's it. I never
yeah,
once anticipated he was gonna wheel and face me. Like that threw me for a loop and just lost
yeah,
it.
yeah. Well,
So,
yeah,
how
I know.
about your time in Kentucky?
Well, I guess let me start. We kind of started with my drive, so I'm coming back right now. It's like we said, it's Halloween. I'm coming back to do kind of like a week-long hunting trip, I guess you could call it. Um, we've always gone to Kansas, and this year we decided not to. Um, and so we've got some really cool property that we're fortunate to be able to hunt this year. And so my fam is kind of meeting up, and I'm working a couple days and hunting this week, and it's one of those situations where I'm super excited, like being in Kentucky, not really having met a hunting buddy yet. Like I definitely miss the camaraderie of it, so I'm super excited for that. I'm super excited for what I could run into for deer this week. I think I'm going to have some crazy action. Like I think it's just going to be a fun week of hunting. But I think it's always hard not to feel a little torn when you've got two tags come this time of the year. Because no matter which situation you go with, you're going to feel like you're missing out on something. You know,
Try four
uh,
tags.
yeah, that's. But my Kentucky situation has gone pretty much as follows. I have never in my life had more bucks that I know of to hunt that I would kill. Um, I've got one piece of private or of public specifically where it's just like, I mean, for the last 2, 3 weeks, it's like clockwork. Every night I've got, you know, different shooters on camera, and they are majority nighttime picks, but they're more in spots where I would expect that, I guess. You know, one's leading right out to a field, another one's kind of paralleling a field. Um,
Sure.
and it's kind of tough. So the last weekend I hunted was not this past weekend, but the weekend before. So like the 18th or whatever that would be.
Yep.
Um, and we ended up doing a college friends weekend last weekend. And I mean, it was fun, but it's definitely one of those situations where I feel like I burned my weekend of hunting a little bit, especially because like it's right when the pre-rut's really starting to kick in. We had a good cold front roll in. It would have just been a good weekend of hunting. And I finally, that last weekend I sat, felt like I was starting to figure out, these deer's travel routes a little more. I was starting to see some deer. I had two little bucks fighting behind me for like 20 minutes the last night I was able to hunt. And then I came face to face with what was at the time the biggest buck I had on camera. I was walking out of the woods, walking through a dove field, and he came running across the field 40 yards from me. And I mean, he is an impressive buck. Um, I mean, he is a no doubter. So, like I said, it's a little hard, but it's like we said, you live and you learn. Gabe told me at the beginning of the year, he said it's probably going to take you a year to learn stuff down there, and it's um, I feel like it hasn't been quite a full season, and I'm starting to get a really good idea. But I think there is some truth to that, and like it's going to take me the full season to really get a good idea, a good beat on everything. Um, and so I don't know. I'm excited though. Like I said, I've got a really good week of hunting coming up. A couple days of work, and then I took a few days off to hunt, so I'll be able to sit quite a bit while I'm up here, and then if I shoot something during the week, I can head back home Friday night, Friday the 8th, and be back at home to sit by Saturday night the 9th, and sit Saturday and Sunday. And if I don't kill anything and want to stay all the way up till Sunday morning, I can, and get back in the woods down in Kentucky. I think it's the 16th and 17th. Probably still catch some of the end of the rut activity. So I don't know. I think I'm going to have a big November.
I need that mentality. I think that mentality started for me today. Just
I
with the
think
weather
it's
that
a
we had,
lot
we
of,
got the first snow today, and I'm like, I was disappointed after the trip I took, and I needed to come home just to like mentally reset. And I've only been home for 2 days now, and I'm like, just for some reason, like, and I'm thankful for it, but I'm like back on fire again. I'm like, you know what?
yeah,
Tomorrow's Friday, November 1st. Like I'm now, self-employed, so I have no obligations to really be anywhere. Granted, I'm made my decision. I am going to work tomorrow afternoon, but talked to a couple coworkers. They took off to go hunt tomorrow, and they're like, dude, tomorrow's going to be the juice. We got, this cold front that's snowing tonight. It's going to be like 28 degrees tomorrow morning. No wind, November 1st, and like the pressure's rising. Like just everything that a deer hunter looks for to have, an awesome day of hunting. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I am going and I am hunting tomorrow morning. Like I'm so
yeah,
jacked up just to freaking go to bed tonight and wake up at 5 a.m. and go crawl in the woods.
yeah. Um, but I think the living and learning that I've done is over the past. Mine's not quite as situational. Mine's more over the past couple of years. Is just like focus on the things that you can control. That way, when the opportunity comes, you're prepared. And what I mean by that is like for me, over the last week and a half, I haven't been able to hunt. I've been gearing up for this trip. So what does that mean for me? Make sure my gear's set up in a way that I want it to. Make sure I made sure that my broadheads were sharp. I did a little bit of resharpening just after pulling them in and out of the quiver all year, and shot a good amount and tried to shoot very situationally. And just one of the things I realized a couple of years ago is I thought back to every year that I've hunted since I started to be like a decent enough hunter that like I could kill a buck, if that makes sense. Like around the age of 14, you know. Um,
Mhm.
and since I've been 14 years old, granted, there were a few years where I wasn't really able to bow hunt because I was in college. So take those years out of it. There has been one season where I have not let an arrow fly at a buck. One season since I was 14.
Okay.
And there's been
Mhm.
multiple seasons where I've let multiple fly. When I was 14, I missed two stud bucks in Kansas. When I was 15, I missed the same buck twice in Kansas. When I was 16, I killed a buck there. When I was 17, I hit one in the shoulder that we never found. When I was 18, I never had a chance to draw my bow that season. Next season I was able to hunt was when I was 23. Shot a buck that we never found. Next season was last year, and I was able to hunt, or was able to kill 3. This year I haven't drawn my bow yet, but it'll happen. So what I quickly realized was, what's the number one way for me to kill more deer? Become more efficient when I get the opportunity. So for me,
Mhm.
I just try to focus on the things I can control as much as I can, and a lot of times that's shooting and being ready for the moment, and that's the number one way that I'm going to be the most proficient. So that's kind of the living and learning I've done. And then for people rolling into this time of year that haven't had a ton of success yet, like stay positive, stay patient. I've had so many years where it's like, I remember 2 years ago I was hunting hard, and it was just like, I mean, from early season on, I was hunting every fucking chance I could. And I mean, up until November 1st, November 2nd, November 3rd, I'm like, I haven't seen a shooter one time all year, and I've spent a
Mhm.
ton of seed time. And all of a sudden, the 4th, boom, like a switch flipped. And that rut kicked in, and like for the next 7 days, I hunted every day and I saw a shooter every single day. Didn't get an opportunity every day, but saw one from the stand every single day. And so I would say just stay patient, spend as much time as you can in the woods over the next 2.5 weeks. Like, it's going to be good. I mean, I know Wisconsin's got some cold or some cool, consistent temperatures rolling in. You know, there's so many years where you get it where it pops back up into the upper 60s or low 70s, even if it's just for like a day or two. And I don't see any of that in the forecast right now. And so, I mean, I think just stay patient, spend as much time in the seat as you can, and take your opportunities when you can. You know.
No, I think that's real good advice. And if you listen to some of our earlier podcasts that Ben and I have done, I've always talked about me as a hunter, my biggest success out of every deer I have on the wall, every deer that's not on the wall. I mean, 95% of them have been shot before November 1st. Most of them shot before like the 20th of October. So I made a comment earlier in the year where it's like, if I have a tag after November 18th, I burn it every year, at least in this state or most other states. And I know I said that this year, but just after recent conversations Ben and I have had, just with the fire I got going, like I'm not like, this is where my mind is at. My mental state is like, it's not an if, it's a when. Like I am not burning this fucking tag. I will not. I don't care what I have to do, but I am not burning this Wisconsin tag. I'm like, as of right now, I'm like, I'm killing a deer this weekend. I got 3 days. I get Friday, I get Saturday, I get Sunday. Saturday and Sunday, if I do all day sits, I'll do all day sits. Like I am going to kill a deer.
Yeah, and I think you're going to run into some success. I think with the spot you've got pinpointed for tomorrow and the weather that you've got, like I'm jealous, man. I wish I could hunt in the morning, but
No, you're not going to. You're getting here at 11. You're not waking up early to go out.
I got to work.
Hmm. Can't you just like bring
I
your
so
laptop in the tree?
yeah, except I'm going to be hunting with my boss, so
Oh, yeah. Well,
this
doesn't
weekend.
help.
So um, I'm working tomorrow. I get to hunt Saturday, Sunday, work Monday, hunt Tuesday, Wednesday, work Thursday, work Friday up until noon. Then I have the rest of the day off. So, I mean, I'll
It's
have some
funny.
good. That's what 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. I got 11 sits this week, morning and night, and that's and we were talking about it. I'll sit all day if it comes down
Mhm.
to it.
And
But
I think you'll get opportunities. I think it's the right time of year, the right weather, the right area. I think you're definitely going to get some action.
I think it's gonna be like Disneyland personally, but we'll see.
And then you'll be next Friday, at I think 1 in the afternoon. Dad and I are heading to Kansas. First time ever, another tag, and I now have a chip on my shoulder, right? I bought a Minnesota tag for a day and a half for a work trip that, since I'm now self-employed, didn't go out on a company card, so that's on me. For a hunt that I hardly saw any deer, so I basically burned a North Dakota tag. I'm sitting on a Wisconsin tag, have a Minnesota tag. Now I have a Kansas tag. Like in my head, I burned two of these tags already, and I'm like, I'm the $700 Kansas tag. I'm gonna freaking put on a deer. I am not going there and not shooting a deer. So I
Where
don't know.
did
Maybe
you
it's just
buy
a
a
mental
seven
thing.
hundred dollar? Where did you buy a $700 Kansas tag?
Well, the tag itself is like $100, and then the actual hunting license is like 100 and some bucks. So and it's like 600 some dollars total.
Oh, I thought it came out to like 5, but
No, because
yeah,
I
they're not
I had
cheap.
to I had to
They're
apply,
not
and
giving
then
them away.
no, it's because yeah, you have to get the deer license, but you also need a hunting license. So it's like
Yeah,
40 to apply or the 25 to apply, whatever it costs to apply. Then it's like the 500 for the whitetail deer tag, which is a buck and a doe, and then like the actual hunting license, it was like 120 bucks. So fully vested, plus I had the preference point. Like I'm sitting just under $700 for this.
yeah.
It's gonna be
Oh,
my
I
most
guess when it
expensive
comes to
whitetail.
my plans, too, I don't know that we've podcasted since this. I also drew a 2-day like late gun season hunt. Uh, it's on 2 specific pieces of public land down like an hour and a half from me. And so it's December 7th and 8th. You can shoot a buck. It's just for whatever reason they do a late quota hunt. So I've got a tag for that if I'm not tagged out before then too, which I think in 2 days, go down there, sit all day, both days. I'd have a hard time believing that I wouldn't have a good chance of running into something. So I've got a
Or
good
someone, I
feeling,
believe.
like I said. But here's a good live and learn one. Have I told my story about getting a ticket on a podcast? I don't think we've
No, I don't.
podcasted since then.
No, I don't think
So
you have. Yeah, if you guys weren't aware, Ben's a criminal.
here's a great live and learn story for you guys. So I think it was like October, like 12th and 13th or 11th and 12th, whatever that Saturday, Sunday would have been. I'm eager to hunt. We've got kind of the first like cool morning that I get to hunt. No, maybe it wasn't. Anyway, I don't remember. I was excited to hunt this weekend though. So I get up Saturday morning, get to the public land. There's another truck parked. So I pull in. I'm like, does that guy have orange on? I'm like, well, whatever. I don't know what he's doing. So I get out. I'm like, where are you going? Oh, I'm going here. Okay, perfect. I was going this way. Awesome. We won't interfere with each other. Good to meet you. Good luck out there. Well, all of a sudden he pipes up. He's like, do you have orange with you? And I'm like, no. And he's like, well, just so you know, it's the youth hunt this weekend. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, I thought you didn't need to wear orange on this piece of public because gun hunting's not allowed. He's like, yeah, I'm not really sure. I think so, but yeah, I don't know. And this is the only orange I got with me. I'm like, all right. So I get back. I'm like, well, at this point, I've got enough time that I can be set up about half an hour before daylight. But I'm like, I live 35 minutes from here. I'm not going home. Not burning the morning. So I get set up in my stand, pull out the rules and regulations, go through it. I'm like, okay, I see you can't gun hunt this piece, and it says you don't have to wear blaze orange if you can't gun hunt on that piece of public. Perfect. I'm all good. So I hunt, have my sit, get down, do a little scouting on my way out, get out, see that there's a different truck parked next to mine as I'm walking up to the parking lot. Like, shit, that's a warden. So right away, I'm like, something's up that I don't know about. So I get up to my truck. He comes out. Hey, how's it going? See any deer? You've been hunting here a lot? And I'm like, shit, maybe he's not going to say anything. Maybe I'm not doing anything wrong.
Just playing good cop right away to get you comfortable.
Yeah. Do you have your hunting license on you? Yes, sir, I do. I'll get it out for you. Here you go. Do you have any blaze orange with you? I'm like, shit. No, sir, I do not. He's like, did you know it was the youth hunt this weekend? No, sir, I did not. So we're talking, and I'm like, I thought you didn't have to wear blaze orange if gun hunting wasn't allowed on the piece. He's like, you don't. Okay. So why do I have to wear blaze orange? Well, youth hunting's allowed on this piece. I'm like, where does it say that? Because I've just moving to the state, and I'm explaining this to him, and he was a nice guy. I'm being as respectful as possible. Like, I was always taught, like, and I just know, like, those guys have a job to do. They're just doing their job. Treat them with the respect. There's a lot better chance that they treat you the same. So I'm just genuinely asking him, and we're having a good conversation. And I just say, I've been on your website a lot. I'm trying to, the rules here are similar, but there's a lot of subtle differences as to where, Wisconsin. I haven't been able to find anything on the youth hunt and whether it's allowed here or not. I guess I didn't think it was any different than a gun hunt. Can you show that to me? Yep. Okay. So he shows it to me. Well, They've got one fucking tiny little spot. I mean, you'd have to search for it. You'd have to be actively looking for it where it shows that youth hunting's allowed on this piece. So we're talking, and I say, is there any way that you wouldn't be willing, that you'd be able to let me off with a warning? You know, we're talking, actually, let me backtrack. So he says to me, he goes, why do you have a non-resident hunting license? And at this point, I told him I just moved from Wisconsin. I said, well, I just moved here. He said, right, but why do you have a non-resident license? Well, like I said, I just moved here. I haven't switched my residency over, so I'm not a resident. He's like, right, but you live in Kentucky. He's like, you could have bought a residence license. So a non-resident license is $330. A resident license is like 50 or 60. So mind you, I've already overpaid by $280 or whatever. Yeah, 280 bucks. So then we get into the whole, you know, any chance you can let me off with a warning. If I would have known I was breaking the law, I never would have hunted this morning. Like, would have gone back and got my orange. And he's like, he thinks about it for a second. And he's like, no, I can't. And I'm like, all right, I get it. You got a job to do. He's like, I'll tell you what I can do. He's like, normally we would give you a misdemeanor and you'd have to go to court. And I'm like, huh? And he's like, I'll just write you the ticket. He's like, it's a $50 fine, and then you're going to have to pay court fees. Like, all right, well, whatever. Thanks, I appreciate it. You know, don't really want to have to go to court, so that's awesome. So, long story short, end up getting a ticket for 200 bucks. Paid it, don't have to go to court. But here's what's really here. If I can go on a quick rant for a second about the Kentucky DNR, and maybe we've already talked about this, or Kentucky Fish and Game. Pardon fucking me. Maybe we've already gone into this a little bit, but I've never met an organization that is more confusing than they are, and it's like they are actively trying to confuse people. Just as far as boundaries, what's the boundaries of the public land? What can you hunt? What can't you hunt? The questions that they don't know the answer to, the way their website is laid out. So the next weekend was early muzzleloader season. I know for a fact you cannot early muzzleloader hunt on any of the pieces near me of public. Again, there is a snippet, there's a whole section in their online hunting guidelines that say if gun hunting is not open on the piece, you do not have to wear orange. So I asked the guy just for clarification. I'm like, next weekend, I know gun hunting is muzzleloader hunting is not open on any of these pieces. Do I have to wear orange? He says yes. Mind you, I also asked this guy. I said, can you give me any tips on where might be a good spot out here? Just kind of jokingly, and he goes, "Oh, I don't hunt." How do you work for Fish and Game and you don't hunt? How are you the head Fish and Game person for this county and you don't hunt? So when he told me that you don't have to, I'm like, I don't know that this guy really knows his shit all that well. So I'm like, I'll call this week. So I call and I go, hey, here's where I'm going. Here's the piece I'm going to. It's not allowed on this piece. Do I have to wear orange? She goes, no. And I go, okay, are you sure? Because an officer told me this past week that I do. She's like, no, you don't have to. There's no muzzleloader season, or there's no gun season open. I go, yes, there is. She's like, no, there's not. I'm like, yeah, early muzzleloader season's this weekend. She goes, oh, shoot. I forgot about that. Then, yeah, you do. And I'm like, nobody's giving me a clear, like, these are the people running this state's Fish and Game. Like, it's just a joke. So I guess moral of the story is it was 100% on me. Know before you go. I own that. Like, it was dumb. You know, once that guy told me this morning, I probably should have just bit the bullet and given up my hunt and not done anything wrong and go home. But I mean, lay it out clearly, people. I mean, come on. You're there to help people. I already overpaid for my license by $280. Then you're gonna stuff it up my ass for another $200. Like, it's just ridiculous.
I'm sorry. In hindsight, it's gonna be a good story for you to tell for
It's
years,
a,
but
it's already like like I paid my fine right away. It's $200. It's not the end of the world. I mean, we're not talking arms and legs, but it's just like fuck me. And then you're gonna give me a misdemeanor for that, for endangering the public? Like,
yeah, dude, in Wisconsin, you can get a DUI and it's still not as bad as that.
yeah. I mean, it's just ridiculous, but it's all government organizations. I mean, you're people talking to people that don't live in reality. So
As much as I hate the conservation practices of the Wisconsin DNR, like I hate what like that they don't do much for public land up north. I hate the structure of the season somewhat. The way they manage our deer herd. That's all the stuff I always bitch about, how they control predators and stuff like that. If there's one thing, Wisconsin, like as you read it in the regulations, like that's law. I don't think I've ever read anything in the Wisconsin hunting regulations that is confusing to me.
no, and their shooting hours are laid out straightforward and all of that. And I will say,
Yep.
like, they might not be the best on the planet, but go to a lot of public pieces around, and it's been logged in the last 10 years, and it's they're doing something to manage the timber. And Kentucky, there is none of that,
Yeah.
like,
And
at
I'm
all. There
surprised,
is
at least in
no logging. Like, it's pathetic.
yeah, and in your area of Kentucky, I think it's different in different parts of the states, right? So like when I drive through like
Probably.
Paducah down to like Christian County and towards like Tennessee, like that stretch of whatever that highway is, there's conservation spots. They actually like they lease out the farm fields like they do in Minnesota, Missouri. So there's agriculture, there's food plots, there's water, but it seems like in your neck of the woods where you're at, like they just don't, and it's really weird. And I don't know if maybe it's a
Yeah,
lack of
and
budget depending on the county or what goes on, but
all the I will say all the WMAs do have like a management level, so you kind of know what you're getting. They either are low, medium, or highly managed. And there's one close to me that's at a medium. The rest are at low. So like they do
sure.
tell you, like, I mean, it's not like I'm not aware, but it's like we can't do anything. You guys can come in and grow
Hmm.
dove fields every year, but you can't do anything for the deer.
Nope. It's the
Like,
luck of the draw.
yeah, but yeah.
Well,
So
that's why they're handing out fines to guys like you, so maybe they can put in some more food plots.
yeah, well, they can fucking suck me.
Yeah,
Um, I kind of forget that this is a podcast episode and not just me and you on the phone. So
hey, we made that a rule when we started the podcast. It's raw, it's real, it's all experiences that we've had, and there's probably people out there that are going to listen to this that have definitely had a similar experience. And you know what? Maybe by listening to this podcast, you just saved somebody $200.
yeah, could be. So yeah, second weekend in October is that would be the youth hunt in Kentucky. So keep that in mind.
So
But
something for next year. Are you gonna possibly just keep like an orange vest stashed under your truck? Like I don't know why, but I feel like I always do. Like I just have a blaze orange
yeah,
beanie like in a pocket,
yep.
and there's just an orange vest under the seat that for some
I
reason
already
lives in
started doing
there.
it. I
You
already
know.
started doing it. Yeah. It's after that I just left it in my truck. Um, and yeah, I don't know. It's obviously, I mean, don't break the law, but obviously if you're on private land, it's a little bit of a different story. There's certainly been years in Wisconsin where I may or may not have wore orange on private land during the youth hunt. But
Yeah, it's all
public
hearsay though.
land, you're asking for trouble. But yeah, so I don't know. This is getting a little long. Kind of at a good stopping point. So have a good November. Be patient. Get in the woods as much as you can. Make it happen, and just grind. Enjoy that grind. Try not to get too frustrated. It's hard getting frustrated second nature. I mean, don't think that because I'm saying not to, that I never do. But just
Yeah, and
enjoy
just
it,
just
man.
look forward to it, enjoy it. I mean, the rut comes once a year. You get, a good 2 or 3 weeks of action to get out in the woods, and most of those guys, if the rut's 3 weeks of crazy action, I mean that means possibly 6 days. You get 2 days here, 2 days this weekend, 2 days the last weekend, and just get out and enjoy it. And Ben's gonna be around. Hopefully, we're gonna be doing some deer drives on the next podcast. We'll be talking about Kansas trip, his experience here in Wisconsin. Hopefully, we can record another one next week at some point. If not, we'll definitely get a few more of these out before Christmas. So stay tuned, guys.
Yeah. Thanks for
See you on the
listening.
next one.
See you on the next one.
Recording.